The Real Talk Corner. We back. We in the building. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, fighting my way through the darkness where the wicked don't rest. Conscious aware, truth I dare, shield tied to my chest. My tenacity can put these motherfuckers to the test. High priestess of fire, alchemistic desire. I say manifest and shit, even when I am tired. You can call me amazing, by the bricks I be laying, but you'll never call me lazy, cause my vibes are devastating. In the league of my own, spitting real talk energy. I know a little something about a thing called synergy. This is old radio, throw a sun and masses awakening. Listen up, cause we about to set your mind, body, and soul free. Welcome to another episode of the Real Talk Corner podcast, where we dive deep into the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical truths that shape our lives and our world. I'm your host, Ariana Gutierrez, and today I'm joined with a very special guest, Amy Allen. Not only is she a gifted, fantastic medium, psychic medium, but she's someone who I have literally known damn near my whole life. Met her, I believe, 4th or 5th grade. Man, it is so beautiful to see just someone who you've known since your childhood, and that you two went off into your lives and then in this beautiful cosmic way come back and share stories of this beautiful spiritual life and spiritual journey. So very, very beautiful and honored to have her on my podcast. In today's episode, we're going to explore the reality of tapping into the energies of past loved ones, angels, and spiritual teams to retrieve messages. We'll also discuss her unique journey to becoming a medium and the calling that led her down this extraordinary path. Join us for an enlightening and heartfelt conversation. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk Corner with your host, Ariana, the Quantum Healer. And today I have a special guest with me, Amy Allen, who is a psychic medium. And for those who don't know you or haven't seen you on my podcast before, because we did it a little bit different last time, let's just go into who you are, what you do, what's your background.
So I was just doing this, my little 30-second elevator spiel, the thing that, excuse me, that I always try and do when I'm trying to, when I'm at a psychic fair or something like that. So this is my spiel. Okay. So hi, everyone. I'm Amy Allen. I'm a psychic medium. And so what that means is when I'm connecting to you psychically, I'm connecting to your team, your spiritual team, what's going on in your life, any messages they may have for you pertaining to you and your situation today. When I'm doing my mediumship work, I'm connecting to your loved ones who've crossed over on the other side. I'm providing evidence of the life that they lived when they were on this plane of existence. And then again, sharing any messages that they may have for you. So having said all that, what kind of reading are we looking for today? And that's my 30 seconds spell. But that's basically it. That's, there's two different sides, A lot of people think that when you say the word psychic, that now I can predict lotto numbers for you.
Right.
Or I could predict the future. I'll let you know exactly the day you're going to die. That's not my gift. All right. And I will say that there are some people out there who can predict the exact day you're going to die. That's just not me. So, right. But that's how I work as in terms of being psychic medium is. So what I really like to do is when I'm doing my psychic work, I like to really call in people's spiritual teams. I think that's one of my things that I feel really helps me to get connected to people and what's happening in their life. And then if a mediumship reading comes from that, because a lot of times our ancestors are part of our spiritual team. And that's, again, the loved ones that have crossed over, that they might step forward. They might be the one to give the message that day. So a lot of times when I ask that question, what kind of reading are you looking for today? most people don't know what kind of reading that they're looking for, you know? And so that's why I definitely feel it's important to understand the difference. And it's important to understand that not every psychic medium is here to, you know, lift the curse or, you know, take away the attachment that's on your back, you know, that's bringing you bad luck. Like that's again, maybe that's out there, but that's not.
Yeah, we talk about the myths a lot too. I always like to remind people of how to spot scammers. And we kind of touched that last time when we were talking about, I always tell everyone should vet your people. I feel like someone who is real will not mind you vetting them. They won't have a problem with you and not testing them, vetting them. You know, they should have somewhere where you could look, somewhere you could go find reviews or just some way to show you that they're real, not just you have a curse, not just I got to sell you these products and now we got to do this whole, you know, removal crap that people do. But so hopefully as we keep bringing that up, people will, oh, okay, and use that gut instinct to say, oh, this might not be the right person.
Right.
I want to touch, you said, let's go back to like what kind of read you want, because I like that. When people are very confused, especially, I know a lot of things are changing, which I love. I love that things are changing and more people are becoming more open to spiritual things and the concept that this is real versus all, oh, that's fake and that's not real.
Right.
So for that point of how do you decipher when someone's like, well, I don't know, because I get this a lot. I don't know what I want, or I don't know what I need. And how do you decipher when you're speaking to someone? Let's kind of go through that. What gives you that nudge or push to say, oh, okay, this is what I'm feeling for you?
Right. So for me, when somebody says, I don't know what I want, the first thing I do is just call in people's spiritual team. And that's how I really like to start my practice. And so for me, what happens is I'll say, okay, Ariana's spiritual team, come on down. And it's so funny because literally the Price is Right song plays in my head when I say come on down. And then the team comes down these stairs for me in my mind's eye. And then they surround the sitter. And it always comes in like, you're going to tell me who my angels are first. And then you're going to tell me who that person's, what I like to call like their spiritual animal. And then their mystical creatures. So like not everybody has a mystical creature, and that's like a whole other podcast, but you know, and then if they have a starseed team, that person might come through. And then any ascended masters that are on their team, I see who's on that. So like Jesus or Buddha or Kuan Yin or something like that, that's on their team. And then the last people that tend to come in are the ancestors. So for me, that's like, okay, whatever, you know, it could be your great grandparents. And a lot of times when people are really, really connected to their family lineage, like you see just row after row after, like it's unidentifiable. You're just connected to your ancestry, your history, and they're all got your back. And then what happens for that sitter is I go, okay, who wants to talk? Who wants to talk? And that will kind of basically determine, is this going to go mediumship or is this going to go psychic? Because if my ancestors, if that kid's or that person's ancestors pop in, then I'm identifying. Then I'm like giving evidence. Okay, I feels like grandpa energy's here. And then I start identifying what that looks like. And then again, the message. Because some people need to hear a message from their ancestors, right? That's ultimately the team is like, we're going to send for the best person that's going to be able to allow this sitter to hear the message and receive it. Because I could be saying things all day long, but if you don't truly believe that I'm connected to you and your team and who's over there, it's all, like you said, like garbage, make believe. She could have Googled it. Oh, it's just so generic, you know? And I think that's what's, like you said, when you're in that process of vetting is finding that person that is really giving you information that only can be given by spirit, right? Like I've never met you. Why do I know that you're in this struggle of deep depression right now? Like you came in with a big fat smile on your face, you know? And that's oftentimes what I see is when I have that person that like truly, and I hate to say it, I know I'm doing my job well when you're sitting there crying. Most customer service is, if the customer is crying, you're bad. But in this line of work, if the customer is crying, you're doing a damn good job. Right?
Yeah, it's the other way around on this line, on this side. It's really, they're crying, you're hitting the spot, you're hitting
Exactly.
what needs to come out, and
And what needs to be said too.
it's
And
a
that,
beautiful place too, to be there with them,
right.
that they're even allowing themselves in that vulnerable space, because it's a very vulnerable space to be in when those floodwaters start to come, and I think that's beautiful.
Right. And I think that's part of again, I think why people really have a great reading with me is, my day job is a school counselor. And so I know how to hold space for people to be vulnerable, to cry, to have that time and not feel rushed or feel shamed or any of that emotion that comes with crying to a perfect stranger. Right. And there's, and again, there's just, it's so weird how much shame there is around crying. Like people will like, I don't want to cry in front of people. Why? Why don't you want to cry in front of people?
Right.
Why don't you want to show them that you're vulnerable? Why don't you want to show them that you're upset or that you made you sad or even happy? Whatever it is, like that shame that comes in with crying. Yeah. And so what I love about my readings is, I feel like I create that space to allow people to be vulnerable. And then again, when I'm doing that psychic reading, it's a lot of these feelings that have not been said to anyone. And I'm sitting here voicing them. Mm-hmm. And they're like, how the hell does she know that I feel like I'm drowning? Or how the hell does she, like, nobody knows. And she's hitting the nail on the head. And it's like, because it's spirit. They're telling me, they see you, right? They see you. They see how miserable you are. They see how sad you are. They see all the crying in the bathroom that you do when you think nobody's around. Like, they see all that, right? And that's what they're showing me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we can, I used to be very wearing a mask. And that mask was like, I'm strong, I got this, but I was dying inside. It was crazy because not too long ago, I was having a conversation with my brother. And in the conversation, I just start crying and I'm telling him like, I was like, for years, I was drowning. I was suffering in silence. And he just was like, I'm very sad to hear that. He was like, because you don't know how strong you look to everybody else. Mm-hmm. We all looked at you like, man, she's a strong woman. And I was like, but I was dying inside, and it's so crazy that you could wear this mask and nobody sees it.
Nobody.
You're just trucking along until, me coming into my spiritual path is when I chose to sit in it. And I was struggling with the vulnerability. Mm-hmm. I was struggling with the crying. I was getting angry with myself for crying. But when people have taken that part of you and used it against you, that's why it's so hard to get back there. It's like foreign now,
right?
As an adult trying to get back there. And I remember sitting there so irritated, like, why am I crying again? And I remember I had and I always talk about the beautiful healers that came along my path. And I think that's just my team that allowed these beautiful people to come and work with me, who sat and held that space for me. And it was just like, well, let's look at that. Let's take a second. Let's see why you're angry. And I'm like, man, if I have to cry one more time. But now I'm a crier. Now I cry and I don't care. I'm like, I don't care if you see me crying. It's like, whatever.
Right.
But it does take a lot to get there. And I know with me, it was like, if I'm not comfortable, I'm not crying. Now I don't care. But in the beginning, it was like, yeah, you're not going to see my tears.
Nope.
Nope.
Now when you're hitting the nail on the head, right? When somebody is like seeing you.
Yes.
When somebody's seeing you who doesn't even know, like, how can the people around me who see me every single day not see the sadness that this person who's sitting across from me can see right in my soul right now? Mm-hmm. That hits home for a lot of people.
It's crazy because even like my daughter, when I was, when we came into this kind of spiritual path together, and we started to have these real conversations of things that she never knew, like I was raped before. She never knew that story. And like her mouth dropped, like, Mom, you went through this, it was like, I can't even believe how much stuff that you've gone through.
Right.
And I didn't realize how much I had held that, like, nothing's wrong with me, we're good. And I had to, not had to, but I thought I had to be strong for her. I thought, because I was also a single mom, her dad wasn't in the picture. So it was like, I have to be the one. Can't show her that, because we can't fail. Failure's not an option.
Right.
But not promoting any of that. So,
Right. No, I get it. I get it.
Because you need to find people that love and support you and can have your back. You shouldn't be alone. And if you don't have people that you can count on in that way, you got to look at your life and be like, wait a minute, something's not right here. If I can't even sit back and cry with the people that are around me, I don't feel comfortable.
Right. Exactly. And I think that is, I don't know, that sense of like, I think it's beautiful. Like a lot of people nowadays are talking about this younger generation, how they're, so weak and so woke and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I personally love the fact that they are so in tune with their emotions and don't like just power through, like just suck it up and get through it. Like, no, let them.
I have two parts of the generation though that I don't like, because it's two extremes, right?
Right.
There are some in the middle. That you're like, okay, you're more balanced than we are. But then there's like the far right that it's just ridiculous, and you can't even, like, if I can't give you constructive criticism without you taking it as I'm taking jabs at you and I'm demeaning you, that's where I think we've gone too far. I can't even give you criticism without you think I'm talking mess about you. How do we learn without constructive criticism?
I agree.
If I can't take someone to say, hey, maybe tweak this or maybe not say that, and I'm like, oh, you're attacking me. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute. And then it's like the far left where they don't give a shit. It's like, you're like, wait a minute, you guys, there's some that just don't even care.
Right.
Unfortunately, I was watching not too long ago how many teachers are getting beat up by children, by these teenagers. And it's like, yeah, it's not that it never happened before, but never at the rate that it is now. We used to act up in class, but we act up, we made the teacher kind of irritated, for the day, and we went home. But it was never like somebody's jumping, hitting the teacher, and everyone's standing around videotaping that.
Yeah.
So those are the things where I'm like, why do we have these extremes now? It's either too much, and then, we do have the ones that it's like, speak your mind. I've always taught my daughter she's 27 now. I've always taught her to speak her mind. And sometimes that would irritate me as a parent, like, damn, my daughter is.
I know, right?
I would rather you say how you feel versus hold it in and not say how you feel.
Right.
And some people used to think that she was being disrespectful. And I'm like, no, she knows the difference, because if her voice got too, it's like, who are you talking to?
Right.
It's a difference between her voicing her opinion and telling me how she feels, and including her in decisions in our life, because this is our life together. It's a big difference. But I'm not mad at the ones that are in tuned and questioning the government or questioning traditions. I'm like, hey, I'm all for it, because I've been someone who's questioned all of those things.
Right.
The problem is the ones that you can't even give them a critique or give them some advice without it being a problem. Or
that's humans. Like, tell me a Gen X person or a Gen Z. Like, every generation has that. Like, people who can't accept criticism, people who can't, get a job. Like, I mean, I don't know how many. I had an uncle he still can't get a job. You know what I mean? Like, like, we have all those within every generation, and like you said, those are their extreme lefts and rights. But what I appreciate is we are in this time of life where our old systems are no longer serving us.
Yeah, definitely.
But what does it look like? Like, we're still trying to cram this old system, because this is the system. And like you said, tradition, this is how things work. You need to have a 9-to-5. You need to have a career that's lasting, that you have the pension. But it's like, do we need that system anymore? But we still have those, like you said, those two lines of thought progressing in society, because you still have like the boomers and even the great generation out there existing in the workforce right now, right? Alongside Gen Z, and it's such different extreme mindsets and lifestyles that people see it as end times, right? Like
Definitely.
Our society's going to hell in a handbag, right? Like I hear this a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's any worse. I just think it's more, of course, recorded. I think that that's why people see more, because it's not that people haven't been getting hurt or haven't been getting murdered. I mean, like when we were kids, like the whole blood and crib shit was a thing. Like people were getting gunned down for wearing colors. Like it's not like this hasn't been happening.
Remember, you can't wear BKs, British Knight shoes.
Man, no.
Blood killers.
Not in our neighborhood, no.
No.
You would have all of these nice homes and then like one block like did it for the whole area.
Right.
I happen to live on that street. Unfortunately, no one could come over to my house.
Right. Ward Street, right? Yeah.
So it's like, I think 2020 was supposed to be, and I think it still is a game changer. It was a game changer, and it was to shut things down so we can kind of redo things. And I do agree with them trying to push back to get back to normal, but there is no normal. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in the whole you have to do this anymore. I left the workforce in 2020 and went to work for myself. I haven't been back. And I've been fine because I just was like, that's not what I need to do. Why do I need to do that when I can?
Society told you needed that system.
Exactly. We came from the generations like, you got to do this, you got to work.
Exactly.
And it's like, man, I've been working for people my whole life. If I can work this hard for them, what could I do for myself?
Right.
And do something that I love and I'm passionate about.
Right.
I was like,
but Gen Z gets to see us do that. So that's why they're like, why am I trying to go live this corporate life? Where and then the people in the corporate, like, they don't work, they don't do anything. And it's like, yeah, because they are like, again, like you said, the same mindset, like, why am I working so hard for you?
Right. Now, I do see, I try kind of go all over. So I do see the young ones that are all on their phones, and I'm just like, sometimes it is irritating. Like, I just want to check out. I just want to check out. I don't want to stand here while you're checking your phone. It's like, can you just do my groceries so I can get out of here?
Right.
So there are some extremes, like even like when you go fast food, and I do tell people like the quality of people now out there working is very different. You go to a lot of places, you're not getting the same service, you're just not getting that time and attention. It's like I remember I walked into like Little Caesars, and the young guy behind the counter, he was like, he said some slang that they say to, I don't even know, this is how old I am. I don't even know what they're saying, but he said something and I was like, what happened to like, welcome to Little Caesars? Like, I was just like, okay, whatever that means. I don't know. I'm old. I'm like, I don't like, what happened to the greeting? And I'm like, okay, they're just trying to have bodies in there. On some extent, I see where it can hurt, because there is a shortage of nurses. There is a shortage of people. Now, again, like I said, looking at teachers, there's a shortage of teachers now. So how many kids are going to be in a classroom now? And there's a lot less people having kids because they don't even want to bring kids into the world, right? So now who's going to be the ones that are taking care of people?
Right. There is a lot of, you're right. And that's, again, part of this system change that people really need to really consider,
Yeah.
And that's another, like, we'll go the whole AI. Let's go there. Let's do it. People ain't going to want to hear this, but like, that's why computers are taking over, because humans don't want to do this menial labor intensive job, know? And that's why people are moving away from, unfortunately, it boils down to either really truly getting a skill like plumbing or HVAC or something like that, that a robot truly can't just come in and replace, right?
Right.
But even things like mental health, sadly, can almost be replaced with a good AI chat.
Right.
Unfortunately. And people so much more prefer to do the
texting and
than actual like virtual, or even
right.
like nowadays, like I even don't want to go to a therapist's office. I would rather do therapy online via like this. But some
Look at
people
you.
don't even want that. They're just rather text it out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Crazy.
AI might be able to replace that. So
It
that's
is true. You have to find your niche, right? We talk about your
right.
niche or passion. I feel like if you go for your passion, you can find your purpose, and then it just all kind of works out for you. I know, like me, I'm adding psychology to everything that I already do because of how many people struggle with mental health
Right.
and aren't aware of their mental health issues. They're
Right.
not aware that they've been struggling traumatic, their traumas. And it's like, all right, you need some deeper stuff. Not, I do a lot of unlicensed stuff. Why? Because I just am. I've always been that person. Plus,
Right.
I did go for the regressionist. I can't do that. I'm certified to do that. So, but
Right.
I feel like a lot of people walk around and aren't understanding traumas. And when we think of traumas, people just think of abuse, or they think of, being hurt
Right.
physically in some
Right.
way. But it's just like, no, if someone was demeaning to you, that one event, that one time, it could have been one time, and that could be sitting in the subconscious and you don't even realize it
Right.
could be affecting you. That
Well,
one person who broke your heart, could be
yes.
affecting the way that you love and you receive love now.
Right. And even as a child, right? Like
Yeah.
if your parent gave you a message of don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I know I got that message. I know you got that
Me
message, right? I know a
too.
lot of
That's
it,
that's why we
right?
couldn't cry. That's why I had a hard
Thank
time
you.
trying to cry.
Exactly. And even though again in their mind they weren't sending you a harmful message, in their
Mhm.
mind they were just being like, life is tough, honey, toughen up,
Right.
like in their mind the messaging was not meant to cause trauma, right? But
Mhm.
your little 5-year-old soul who doesn't understand how to process emotion
Right.
still took that message as don't cry or you will get even more hurt,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
what do? You do not cry,
Right.
period, because if you do, you're going to get even more
Mhm.
things to cry about, right?
Yep.
And so, and again, like you said, it doesn't have to be because they beat you. It
Yep.
doesn't have to be because it's just the way your soul reacts to it in that moment,
Right.
right? And now it's still, like you said, it still stays with you.
Yeah.
So that 5-year-old self, that hurt, that experience, that messaging stayed with you.
Yeah.
And now you're 43 years old and learning how to cry without being fearful that if I cry, I'm going to have more things to cry about.
Right.
Right.
I had a lady who we were
Processing.
in a we
Yeah.
were in a session and she was trying to figure out where does the unworthiness come from, because she's like, my parents have always been loving, they've always been supportive, she's a trainer, she's fit, she's like, I don't know where this is coming from. She's like, so the more and I always use techniques of meditation, I love meditation stuff, so
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
working with the higher self. So it's like, okay, let's really, so when we got to it, it was one instance, her being on the playground around that 5, 6-year-old self on the playground. One little girl said something about her and made fun of her. And that was what it was. That is where her unworthiness came from.
Right.
And
Right.
that whole, and she's now but when we were doing this session, she was in her 40s now,
Right.
trying to figure out like, what is going on with
Right.
this that's coming up for me? Where is this coming up? And it was like this one, and she cried when that memory came up, because she didn't realize that one incident that thought was nothing actually was something that was hurting her, sitting in the subconscious.
Right.
And I'm
Because it
like, so
hurt
it could
her
be,
so deeply at 5 years old.
yes.
Right.
I try to tell people that first, it's 1 to 0 to 7 is a very, very, like, the time you're going to shape and make or break your kids in ways that you can't even imagine. What
Right.
happens in that first 7 years is very crucial. The love
Right.
that they get, the support that they get, the, feeling safe and secure, being able to talk, being able to speak is going to shape them so much. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't get that message. And then there's things, of course, we can't, like her on the playground. That's nothing her parents could have
Right.
actually
Right.
done, or even thought that was an issue if she didn't come home and talk about it, right? So it's not really, but yeah, trauma is so much more. It could be so many other things. When a family dynamic changes, even like
Right.
say there's the cool aunt that always is around, and all of a sudden that aunt is not there no more, and the children
Right.
don't know what's going on. But
Right.
now their dynamic is different. Something has changed.
Right.
Something is not, wait, we're missing a piece here. That can
Exactly.
affect you. And so I always try to tell people, when we look at traumas, it's so much more than that. It's so much more than just the crazy detrimental stuff. Like, yes, that stuff is there too. But
Right.
there's other things, kids being
Right.
abandoned or feel alone, parents at work all the time, and they, then those are all of those things that those kids deal with. And it's like, all right. I know we kind of straight. I
Yeah.
want to
I do that. I do that.
how it goes. I want to go back real quick just to one, how did you start going into your path? Explain, because I'm pretty sure people want to know, when did it start, your mediumship, or when did you start going onto this path?
So for me, it started in 2019. And I love telling this story because in hindsight, when I tell the story, it was so guided by spirit, like my team, like they were like pushing me the whole way through. And so in 2019, there was just a little psychic fair down, and I live in a little mountain community. So it was what we termed down the hill. And so it wasn't too far away because like everything is far away from me. So I'm like, wow, this is the perfect opportunity. It's really far away. And everything just kept pushing me to go. I had a person that I had just met, and we had daughters the same age, and she invited us for a play date. And I was like, as much as I really wanted to connect to this new mom, I really want to go to the psychic fair even more, right? And so I went to the psychic fair. I'm like, we're gonna do, let's get together next weekend. I'm going to the psychic fair. She's like, okay, cool. So I went, and there I had a reading, a past life reading, like you said. And one of the things in the past life reading is they're like, you've been a medium, but you've also had a lot of lifetimes where you've been non-religious, non-spiritual, where you're just logic kind of, type mentality. But then also ones where you're so spiritual, you're so like, you were a shaman or a medicine woman or a healer or a medium. But this lifetime is about the balance of both, like having the logic, but then also being spiritual. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I become a medium? And they're like, just take a class. And the lady was like, you can take a class with me, but I live here. And she's like, but you can find them online, on Facebook, and I was on a thing called Meetup, which had lots of different like organizations where you can find meditation groups, et cetera, Reiki, things like that. So I found a psychic medium course, and it was all the way out in LA, but it was perfect timing. It was a one-day workshop. It was a best price, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I go all the way out to LA. Again, I'm in this small mountain town. It's 2 hours away. I go, I spend the night, I do the workshop. It's amazing. At the workshop, I'm not a front row girl. Okay. I never sit in the front row, but something was like, sit here. And so I sat here, and that seat that I sat in was next to this lady named Kim. And Kim really helped me through my spiritual journey. She was always the one who was like, hey, I found this class. You should take it with me. Hey, I found this. You should check this person out. And so I really think that spirit led me there to meet Kim. Right. And then, like I said, and from there, Kim would be like, hey, I found this great class. Take it with me. So I just take this class with her. And it was always the perfect price point, nothing outrageous, but again, like quality instruction. Right. And then just from there, I just, they say the best way to do this is just practice, just like anything, like riding a bike, like doing art, like doing anything that you learn, music, you practice. And so 2020 hit, COVID hit. I had a lot of time on my hands, and but I really, really did feel called, like this, like the psychic, like helping others. It was just so aligned with already what I was doing, that I started doing my own, a mediumship practice, exercise, and just threw it out on one of these psychic groups that I was part of, that I joined because I did a class, and bunch of women signed up, and we just practice and practice. And then just from there, just helped me to build the confidence too. And then what I loved about the group setting was like, we read one person and I would get like, oh, I'm seeing bananas. And they're like, oh my God, that's so weird. I saw bananas too. And it's like, why are we both seeing bananas? Unless, like, and then the person's like, bananas was my dad's favorite. And it's like, oh, and it's like stuff like that would happen. And again, just building the confidence. And then it just kind of started to fall apart. Like, life started happening again. People started going back to work, and the practice group started, like, people couldn't make it. And then that was, again, my sign, like, you're ready. Like, this was cool. This was helping build your confidence. This was allowing you to, again, trust that what you're seeing isn't crazy stuff. Like, you literally have somebody else validating all this information for you. How could you both be seeing it, right? And that gave me the confidence to really branch out on my own and really start to do things on my own. So that's been the last couple of years, is just really doing my own practice, doing individual readings, going to psychic fairs, things like that, doing workshops in my local community. Just did a little class, Grow Your Intuition, just where we just learned how to, again, just pick up and understand that we all have this. Like, it's not something that you need to die, have a near life experience, or that you were born with, or you can learn it. It's just
one thing I didn't like when coming into spirituality was the tons of egotistical spirituality people. And it would be like those mediums, like, I've been doing this since I was 3. It's like, good for you. But that's like, I would always be like, that doesn't mean you're better. Like, I think there's this thing that just because someone's been open for a certain amount of time, and you can literally open it. I did the same thing. I opened up my ability to hear, see, feel, whoever, whether it's your team, whoever comes in. That's the whole point, is to open it up so that you're in tuned, and you take the signs, symbols, words that come in. But that was one of my things that was so irritating with the people that had that ego about their gift, as if, like, not to say we're all chosen, right? There is no chosen ones. There is no, like, you can have your purpose and your passion. You can develop a purpose and passion. You can figure that out. Some people, that's a common question, like, what am I supposed to be doing in this world? And it's like, what do you want to do?
Right.
There's someone over here directing, you have to do this. And you, like, even the people who are like, I got to take on the karma of the family. And it's like, no, you don't. Who said?
Right.
Nobody. You could literally, like, nope, not me, somebody else.
Right.
But it's like these people that have these things set in stone. And I think too, when we talk about revolution on spiritual side, there's been a lot of change. As I think we came in, because I came into spirituality around the same time, 2019. I think a lot of us came in at the same time, right before COVID hit.
I feel like it was a great, like, I feel like it's just been great awakenings after great awakenings. Like, I feel like I just keep seeing waves of people who just, and I think one of the reasons why we awakened in 2019 was to be, like you said, a different energy, like not that ego energy, not that thing that you saw previous, like Miss Cleo, like, like Sylvia Brown, like all those people are like, I'm a second generation medium, like my mom, like, like, that's what you see on Oprah. That's like, what I mean? Like, that's what, but like, I think that's why we had that awakening, so that people can see, like, no, I 2019, like, it's not even been a decade, and I'm doing it, and I'm just as good. I don't toot my own horn, but I'm
tooting.
I can give you the same reading that you would get if you paid somebody who's a second generation medium $1,000. Right. I do it for half. Not even half. Okay. Like $100. Like, and again, that's my thing too, is like, I have friends in the industry who are like, you way undercharge. You should be charging $300 or $400 a reading. And I'm like, but
why?
Like, my job here is not to be so exclusive that people cannot get the message that
Right.
spirit needs them to hear. I want to make it accessible. You know,
Right.
a lot of times I'm just like, I just want to give you the message because I know your soul needs it. You know, I know you need to hear this message. I know you
Right.
need to know that somebody out there hears you and sees that you're drowning, or sees that you need the support, or see whatever it is, the message that spirit wants to deliver. So why am I going to price out half
Mhm.
of the people that I know need the message? So
Right.
that for me is why I try it. I mean, I feel like my price point is affordable for what I give, the services that I give. So it's just like 111 is what I charge, and for some that, you know, that might be pricing some people out, you know, 111. But I feel like it's a good compromise where I can, you know, make income, you know,
Right.
but
Right.
then also it's a little mini investment in yourself too, right? When it's a little too inexpensive, people don't necessarily
Value it.
exactly
Yeah.
value
Some people like,
like the people on TikTok who are like, "Oh, give me my yes or no, my free yes or no question." You know,
yeah.
I'll do a reading for $5.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
much are you really valuing that reading?
Right, right. And I a couple times tried to go on and just kind of vibe on TikTok and I just couldn't. It just was like, this is not my lane. I'm on Facebook for a
Right,
reason. And I was always redirected to Facebook. I'd have a YouTube too, but I was always redirected to Facebook, just different older people, mindset is different. There's a lot of difference in like the TikTok crowd. And then,
right,
you had said something about even like people needing to like have that like career goal or whatever you're doing, because even like I came in as a tarot reader, and now like you can flip on any channel and see a million tarot readers
exactly.
spewing bullshit. It's like,
It's funny. Yes. My friend today, we were talking and somebody's like, "What's the psychic community like up here?" And my friend, who's also a psychic, was like, there's not really a lot of us. I'm like, "Oh, that's not true. There's so and so." She's like, "Those are card readers. That's not the same as being a psychic and a medium." And I was like, "Oh."
there's
Because
a
at
big
the end of the day, you could take a tarot class and it's like, okay, this
right,
is what this means because I
right,
know that this is what the book says, right?
right,
But
right.
like just knowing.
Right. I teach tarot. I started teaching tarot back in 2020 because I learned the cards and I love to teach.
Mhm.
So I've been teaching tarot, and the way that I tell people is like, yeah, you could master all 78 cards. And yeah, you're going to be able to tell a story, right?
Right. Right.
But that's not going to be the read. That's not
Right.
going to really help this person. And like, we all get shown our path. So for me in the beginning, before I even truly knew all the cards, I was able to tap into stuff that wasn't on the cards. How do you know
Right.
that? How do you see that in the cards? I'm hearing shit, I'm seeing shit, visualize,
Right.
you see stuff. And so it was like, then I was tapping into karma, like, wait a minute, how am I tapping into people's karma? So past life was always going to be a thing. That from the beginning was always going to be a thing for me to
Mhm.
tap
Mhm.
into, to do. And then I didn't even realize that mediumship was happening as I'm doing it, because I would feel the loved one. So and so's
Mm.
around. And then I decided to sit in a group. I found someone who was doing it. Me and a couple other girls, we kind of sat in a group and we were practicing. And it was crazy. Like, oh, this has already been happening. I've already
Right.
been hearing this. I've already
Right.
been, okay, so this is what this, and it's just the craziest thing. You don't even realize it. But yeah, my pet peeve is like, now you can go and you could go get that $3 tarot reading. My prices are, some people might think my prices are a little high. I don't care. I'm not going to give you the $5 reason. There might be a time where for people who have been on my page forever, I might be like, all right, tonight you guys, I'm doing $5, reads in my
Right. Right.
box. That's not all the time though. I'm not doing $3 full reads. I'm not doing
Right.
$5 full reads. You'll get a couple cards.
Right.
But it's such difference, the card read versus intuitively reading. And literally in my class, like the girl, they'll be saying like, how do you see all of that in the cards? It's like, because when you learn the cards, but then you allow spirit to direct you, each card deck is so different. The
Mhm.
From the creator to the author to the artist, they all put their energy into these cards to say something. And if
Right.
you allow spirit to guide you, not your ego to guide you, right? You're going to get that deeper information. And that's why I think a lot of us came through, but then now it's a fad. And now like everybody is, you know, doing whatever they want. And I'm like, look, y'all get scammed, you get scammed. I keep trying to tell you.
Like, don't get me wrong. I love tarot. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful, like you said, I think it's a beautiful tool, right? But at the end of the day, we all got to tap into the universe, the spirit, you know, we got to tap into our spiritual team to get the ultimate message. You know, I pull Oracle card. I pull Oracle card every day.
I love Oracle cards.
I love Oracle cards. It's just straight to the point. Boom. Here you go. You know, and I pull one
every in depth and inspiring.
Yes.
The unfortunate part of tarot is tarot could get brutal in tarot. And if you're not, and I'm not even that seasoned, what some people think. I started in 2019, but I will, you know, pop my own collar
Right.
how I read
because
of the way that I read. You know, you're going to get a different read. It could be brutal in tarot. And if you have someone who doesn't know how to talk or look at those cards, it's just, you're getting a watered down version of a message that actually could be life changing if you go to the right person, right? But in the beginning, even I understood that tarot was just a stepping stone. That was my stepping stone in. But then I had also kept going, everything to learn, from chakras to meditation to all of those things, yoga, all of those things. And then why, where does it come from? Who's, you know, culturally, where does this come from? And that's where everyone should keep going to build. It's like anything that we do, building who you are. And if you do that, then you can open and be, you know, what quote unquote, what they call it, psychic medium. But it's not just to, tell your future, and, you know, give you the winning numbers and tell you when your love's going to be here. But that part about tarot is, unfortunately, I do say it too. It's very negative, because you got the people who just want to know, just tell me. They don't want to put in the work. And that was always my pet peeve, because even in the beginning, I started with, healing is just as important as you knowing what you want to know. And so if you're asking me about love and spirit is redirecting me to talk about you, then you are the problem. And so I got known for people stop asking questions and would just be like, can I get a spirit read? Because spirit was like, I'm not going to tell you what you want to know. You're going to get what you need to hear, which is more towards healing. But again, not everybody connects in that way, and not everybody reads in that way. And that's why more so of me moving towards the mental health, the regression, to really get deep into those wounds, because people who normally are in tarot, they're very obsessed. It's a very obsessive energy. I'm gonna come and check this energy again and again. And it's like, energy changes. It's good.
And I'm so grateful that you said that, because like you said, a lot of people, all these tools that people want to use, like the pendulum, right? Like today it could be yes, tomorrow it could be no. Why is it yes today and tomorrow no? Because life changed from yesterday to today. My thoughts changed from yesterday to today. There is no such thing as a set future for anyone. And so like future predicting and like all those things, and even like I could go to my pendulum and say, will I find love tomorrow? And it might say yes. And then tomorrow I'm sick and I didn't go out of the house. And I'm like, am I going to still find love today? No. Because I got sick and didn't go out of the house, you know? And that's what people don't understand, is that they think that when you come, that you can give like a yes or no. Like, should I take this job? Yes or no? It's not that simple, honey. It's not. What are you trying to get from the job? What is the expectation? What is the experience? Like, and at the end of the day, even if I said yes, you could go there and hate it, but now you know you hate it. And that's the journey. That's the lesson. That's what you need to focus on, instead of these definitive, like, what is my, like you said, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to live. Your purpose, that's it. That's your purpose.
Well, people want to hear, like you say, oh, you're supposed to be a witch, or you're supposed to be, you know, a medium, or you're supposed to be this. That's what I would get a lot. Tons of people like, what are my gifts? And I'm like, what do you feel? What do you, what do you feel called? Like, haven't been a medium, but I saw shadows when I was a kid.
Right.
I would see shadow people all the damn time and didn't understand what that was, right?
Right.
I've always had vivid dreams since I was a kid. I've always been in between worlds with the dream state.
Which is really funny because, like you said, like in hindsight, like same thing. Like there's so many times where I look back in hindsight and go, man, that was my intuition.
Right.
I didn't even realize it, but that was my intuition. And I followed it, or I didn't follow it. And look at what happened to me because I did not follow that. But like now that I understand the different muscles that were being utilized, I was like, holy crap. All that imagination, all those things that I saw about people, all that was my intuition. Yeah. But I was like, oh, it's just my imagination.
Right.
Or it's just, that was just coincidence, or it's just perfect timing. It's like, no, that was divinely guided.
Everyone who's betrayed me, I had a dream about them betraying me before it happened.
Right.
And it might not have been exactly, but it was like, this is crazy.
Warning, girl. You're warning,
this is crazy. And then boom, like clockwork, it was like, wow. You look back and you're like, oh shit, I picked up on that. Oh,
right.
Wow. And you're like, it's been there the whole time, but people downplay, especially the dream state, people downplay it. But I've gotten to that place where I don't go against my dreams. Those are messages.
Exactly.
And there are times that I tap into alternate, kind of alternate lives, alternate spaces and realms. And I know some people are going to be like, well,
a whole other podcast.
And sometimes I tap into those alternate realities for whatever reason. There's a message there, also you wouldn't be tapping in for it without there being a reason, right? But normally it's messages, and I do document that, like, okay, let's see. And it will always come, oh, that's what that meant.
Right.
That's what that came through. So I don't go against my dreams and my gut intuition. I don't go against that no more too. I've learned the hard way. My gut says no, it's a no.
Every time I've gone against my gut, even now, knowing what I know, there'll be times where I go, it'll be okay. Right. And every freaking time it was not okay. So Spirit's always like, I don't know what, again, this trust us, trust yourself, trust your intuition.
It's like, if I'm iffy about anything, it's a no, because I'm iffy.
Right.
If I feel it and I'm like, yeah, all right, it's a yeah. Because other than that, anything else before that I used to be iffy about, sure enough, when the day would come or whatever, it'd be like, oh, why did I do that? So nope, I'm really into that honoring place. And this is where, again, I don't, the people who are tarot readers out there, I've talked to some other tarot readers on some other podcasts of the people trying to reel you in to keep you there. And my thing is always showing you how to listen to your higher self and hear those voices. So every session I do, I'm teaching people how to do that. I don't want you to come back to me.
Right.
I don't want to do readings on you every week.
Right.
No.
Yes. I have a rule that you can't have a reading after you have to wait 3 months. Because sometimes people are just like, okay, we broke up. What does this mean? What is my future? And it's like, no, I'm not a call. So
some people, it's crazy. I have some clients that have been with me a couple years now. And there are some that, unfortunately, that obsessive, compulsive, anxiety kind of personality, right? And some of them we've worked way, they're so much better. But unfortunately, that is a lot of people where it's like, oh my God, this. So that's where I really started to go into the like counseling therapy kind of, because it was like, okay, before we even look at these cards, let's talk about what's going on. And whenever you let someone talk and really say something out loud, sometimes they're like, wow, I'm hearing how this sounds. I'm hearing how these thoughts sound, right? This actually sounds pretty crazy. Yeah, it does. you know?
Right. Yeah, that's why I don't do emergency sessions. Like some people will call and be like, message like, hey, can you do a session tonight? No, I can't.
There's no such thing as an emergency tarot session.
Yes. Look, some people in their mind, I need, and I let the energy die down.
People charge like $200 for an emergency session. And I'm like, who has a tarot emergency? If you have an emergency, call 911, not me.
Trust.
If you got demons attacking you, if you got demons attacking you at 2 a.m., I can't help you.
Right?
Call a priest. I can't help you at 2 a.m. No, There's no such thing as an emergency tarot reading.
Right.
No, I've never had that as a practice. I close my box. I will open it tomorrow. I have like, I clock out, and from the beginning, my team was like, look, when I clock out from this space, I'm going to go rest. My room is rest. Don't bother me,
Right.
Like, no, there's no such thing as a freaking emergency reading,
Right.
and even like, it's like people can think about you all day. Doesn't mean they're going to act.
Right.
Okay, so the person's thinking about you. Does that make you feel better? Or
Right.
they're not thinking about you. Does that make you feel better?
Right.
No, you feel like shit now, So that's why it's more reason why I got more into the talk therapy versus just the tarot reading. But again, unfortunately, you don't have a lot of people who do that.
Right.
I don't like the mediums. I love how you talk about how you practice, because I personally don't like the mediums that just go, oh yeah, your person's here, they're fine, they went to heaven, so generic.
No.
And it's like,
no. I feel like that's one of the things that I feel like that's the most important part, is bringing forward the evidence.
Right.
To me.
Right.
Because again, like, how do I know I'm talking to Grandpa Joe? Like what, how, like you like, and so for me, that is really always the most critical part in mediumship is evidential mediumship. There's a lot of different ways that you can do mediumship. But the evidential part to me is really important in ensuring that person, whatever message is being received, is truly being received and taken to heart.
Go a little into what you mean by that. For someone who doesn't know what evidential mediumship is, just kind of explain that for someone who has no idea what this is.
So right. Yeah. No, evidential mediumship is basically like, I'm giving you information that can be verified in real life. Like if I said Tom had blue eyes, you can show me a picture that Tom had blue eyes, right? Like, or if I said Tom was in the military and he was like a corporal, and you could be like, yes, Tom was in the military and he was a corporal, like that is not just like, I see a male. He feels like a father figure. And he says he loves you and he's in heaven and watching out for you. Like if I can tell you, hey, I see a male and he's your grandpa and he's got blue eyes and he was balding and he used to wear khakis and a flannel t-shirt. And like, you're going to know that when I say he's in heaven and he's watching over you and he's at peace, that he's in heaven and he's watching over you and he's at peace, because you know that grandpa had the flannel t-shirt and the khaki pants. Like that's him, right? You're going to totally, anything I tell you from that point forward about what that person is saying, you're going to 100% take that message.
Right.
I'm just like, you got a male here. It's like I'm a skeptic. I'd be like, and I got lots of males. Like I got like all male relatives are dead. Tell me more. Like is it my grandpa?
A little bit more.
Right. Is it my uncle? Is it my dad? Like, give me a little bit more details, So
I love the fishing ones, because there's, it's funny when we're going through these paths, you just see what not to be. You see what not to do a lot of times, and the fishing questions, right? It's like, I see a woman. Most of the time, you guys on the other end are telling too much information.
Right.
Because you can start going, oh yeah, that's Aunt Betty. No, stop.
Yeah.
Let that person
medium. Yeah. That's what
let them give you the information. I used to tell people, because I would do it on lives a lot. I would tell people, once you tell me something, I can't verify that. Now you have to throw that in the trash, because now you've said that. Now you put it out there. You have to let the person come to you with information. You cannot just be, oh yeah, that was grandpa and he had a heart attack. No, shush.
Right.
Don't say nothing. Let that person come to you. What is the craziest thing you've heard from someone's past loved one?
I think the last thing that really shook me, the last reading that I had that really like stuck with me for a while, was a friend whose partner had passed from basically like a stroke, and he was, young man, and he's like, and he just kept saying, it happened so fast. It happened so fast. Because he said he heard a pop, and then he woke up on the other side, and that was it.
Wow.
And so that to me, just, I don't know why that's like, just chilled me to know that he just heard his own brain have an aneurysm. And then, and the situation was, he was just living his life. He was helping his girlfriend move a treadmill. And she went inside to grab something so that they can hold on to it a bit better. And she came out and he was gone.
Wow.
And it happened so fast. And just the way, like, you could tell he was just so, like, shook. Even, like, he was still, like, so, like, I can't believe how fast that happened. I cannot believe how fast that happened. And I don't know why it stick with me, because it is. Life is just so short. You literally don't know when it will just, you hear a pop and you're gone.
Right.
Right. And that, for me, I don't know, it just reinforced, like, every moment is precious. Every single, like, and that was his message too, is don't wait to live your life.
Right.
Like those people who are like, one day we're going to go to Italy, or like, you're going to, 5 years from now, we're saving up so we can go, like, just book it and find a way to pay for it later. Like, that is. And so that's just kind of like that message really. And so what I say all that to say is, like, this woman, then, like, 2 days later, I see a friend of mine and she's like, oh, I just got back from Salem and I just had the best time. And it was just so magical and so beautiful. I'm like, I've always wanted to go to Salem. Right. And then I just was like, what's stopping me? What's stopping me? Life is too short. Then literally the next day, I looked at prices for Salem. Everything worked out. The prices were right. The timing was right. And I just said, F it. Right. I'm booking this flight because life's too short. What am I waiting for? Right? Yeah. What am I waiting for? When will it ever be the perfect time to go?
There won't ever be the perfect time to do anything. It's crazy that, and then a lot of people get sucked into that whole, I have to do this first and I have to do that first and I have to save and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, you might not see that. You might not get a chance. I've always lived like that. People always thought I was crazy because I would be like, life's too short. YOLO. I'm going to go and do and see things because you just don't know. But that's because I lost a child when I was a teenager. So that changed me. That death, knowing just like that, like in an instant, you could be gone, changed it forever. So after that, it was just like, no, let's go here. Let's do this. We're not going to wait until the right moment because there'll never be a right moment.
Never be a right moment. There'll never be. Exactly. And so, like you said, I just booked it. Yeah. And then I worried about the money afterwards. And then the money just started coming. Cause again, it was just like, hey, you want this? We're giving it to you. And don't worry about it. Like, you'll get what you need. And I did. Then I just started, like, literally after I booked it, like, hey, can I get a reading? Hey, guy. And I had like 4 readings booked. And I was like, okay, that just paid for my plane tickets.
Exactly.
And that was it, but if I would have stopped and been like, oh, can I afford this? What can I do? Like, I just allowed the universe to say, and I gave myself permission to do what I wanted to do. And the universe said, yes, girl, do it. And we're going to, here's everything you need to make this happen. Yeah. And I think just that is, I don't want to say the craziest, but that's just been one of the most profound things. And I don't know why just suddenly that specific one. And I think it's because he literally let me hear the pop. Yeah. Like I could hear the
yeah. That's trippy. It's very trippy. It coincides with, of course, I've done mediumship before, but even on the regression side, the past life regressions, it's crazy how, because I've done past life regression myself. I've had a facilitator help me. So I've gone through in that whole, like, 1 minute you're alive, the next minute you're on the other side is literally how it is.
It is.
It's like you're here and then boom, you're on the other side looking at your body. Like,
exactly.
It's such the craziest thing. And it's just like, you would think that there's more pain to it or there's more suffering. There really isn't. It's like, boom, you're gone. And now you're looking at yourself like, oh shit, like, I'm on the other side. And it is really trippy to know. And I think it is comforting to know, although there's a lot of stuff that happens on the other side of where you go, because depending on what you've done in this life, depending on where you're at, tragically, sometimes there's places that we go that's not, it's not a bad place, but it's just like sometimes you need to just rest. There was a point in one of my past lives that it was so much trauma in that life that I went to, I call it the nothing, but it's really just like a space of nothing, no worries, no pain, no good, no bad, no nothing. And there's Dolores Cannon talks about it in her book also, of where people have to go if you've had a lot of trauma, so you don't take that into the next place that you go or the next space that you go. So you kind of have to rest and kind of recharge us energetically. So it's pretty trippy how just that these stages and what we think is on the other side and the fears we have of what goes on the other side. And it's actually not as bad as we think going on that other side, and what's over there. So pretty trippy. That's a cool story though. I mean, I think the reason, some people just stick to us in for those reasons, to inspire us, to have that message. Because now how many people are going to hear that message watching this or listening to this, right? And it's like they needed to hear that, because there's a lot of people holding on right now. The economy is crazy. It's a whole other podcast, and everyone is like, money, money, money. I don't have enough. I don't have enough. Right. And if there's one thing that I've learned on this spiritual path, is that if you want it, claim it. And if it is for you and beneficial for your path, it's going to align. If it's not within alignment,
it won't happen.
It won't happen.
It won't happen. Like, it physically won't. You can't even, like, if they didn't want me to go to Salem, I wouldn't have been able to book a flight. It would have been, the price would have been like $500, $1,000 or whatever. If it was not aligned for me to be there, it would not have been aligned. And people don't take those signs. They think like, oh, I just keep getting all these blocks, and I don't get hot. It's like, no, this is not for you. If you're not understanding this is not for you, then, and you keep trying to force this issue, you're gonna really find out how much this is not for you. Like, and that's just what, like even relationships, again, like on TikTok, people are like, is so-and-so going to come back to me? Why do you want him to come back? Did he leave? If they were meant for you, they would be there right now. You wouldn't even be sitting here asking me this question.
I try to, the biggest thing with, unfortunately coming into this is that relationships is the biggest thing. Right. And that was one of the biggest things that would come, is like, are they coming back? Is that my soulmate? Is that my twin flame? Is that my karmic? And so being the way that I've learned, I kind of get at people this way. It doesn't matter. We have karma with everyone. Deeming someone a karmic partner and taking away from that experience is horrible, because this person, you called them in. We're magnets. You called this person in for an experience, right? Now they're not the perfect person, and you want to deem them that's not your soulmate, and you want to, someone to tell you that this perfect soulmate exists, when nobody is perfect. Nobody is the perfect soulmate. So it's kind of like, no, just have your experience and know that nothing is forever. That fairy tale that, everyone should be together and you're going to have the happily ever after, sounds good, but that's not reality of life. At any time, something can change, and you could be with someone and then you guys could grow apart. That's just the life.
And that's your soulmate. And that is your soulmate, because that was your soul's lesson, is to be with that person. Like, even me, like, I had a marriage, and one of the things that we were soulmates, yes, 100%. But guess what? Our souls are also so entwined and so codependent on one another that this lifetime is meant to be apart, to be separate, to understand, to grow through the pain of being separate from one another, to not be with one another. And some people are like, then does that mean they're my soulmate? Yes, because they helped your soul to grow. That's what the soulmate is about. The soulmate is not for you to sit and be comfort and in love. The soulmate is there to help your soul grow.
It's like,
and that does not always look like, roses and sunshine and happiness. Sometimes that looks like because you departed, or maybe you had a beautiful love story with them and then they died. Maybe you had a beautiful love story and again they cheated. And what did you like? Did they help your soul grow? Did they help you learn lessons that you might not have ever learned if you did not know that soul? That's what people don't realize.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I would
it's
say.
beautiful,
What can
sunshine,
you take
happiness.
from it instead of concentrating on this person coming back? What can you learn from this?
Right.
The experience taught you something. Whether you're worth, that your value, this person didn't value you, ding, ding, ding. Normally it's our
Right.
worth, knowing that someone's going to come in and make you see it, right? That's
Right.
what a lot of that is. And then we deem them karmics and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, no, we have so many soulmates. There's no destined person. Yeah, you're destined to meet people, because I do think you're destined to meet
Yes.
people, right? But
Yes.
that doesn't mean you're destined to be together forever.
Forever. No.
There's so much more that goes into that. And it's just like, stop looking for the one.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I had one girl one time. She was in a nice relationship. She had nothing bad to say about her person, but because of the whole twin flame thing, she was like, "Do I have a twin flame out there?" And I was just like, is there anything wrong with the person you're with? No, they're loving, they're kind, they're this, they're that, they support your spiritual. And I'm like, so why the hell are you looking for a twin flame?
Right.
She's like, well, that's what people say. You don't have to have a twin flame. That person is not going to be better than the person who's loving you right now.
Right.
They're with you now.
Right.
What the hell are you doing? So, I am an advocate, not against twin flames anymore, but I am someone who's like, let's look deeper past this soulmate, perfect person, my one and only, and look at like, what can you take from this? Because you can take everything and be like, oh, I did learn a lesson. That person showed me this. They showed me how I don't want to be treated, or they showed me how I do want to be treated, and the next person better treat me in that way.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
This stuff. But, that's a whole nother podcast, y'all.
That is a whole nother podcast. We can go on for days.
I know. I love it. We're gonna wrap this one up because we're kind of at the time. But thank you again, Amy, for coming on and just sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience with the viewers and listeners. I definitely feel like they'll take something away from this. I will have her contact information. She does have it on the screen too, but I will have her links in the description, whether you're on YouTube or you're on the other spaces listening to the podcast. It'll be in the description where you can click it, go talk to her, go support her pages and things like that. And of course, I don't know if you have anything left to say to them.
Thanks for creating the space to have the conversations. I really appreciate you creating the space and having me on. I think it's great that we are able to find people that can have conversations about spirituality that is not always filled with love and light. It's not all love and light out there. There's some messy parts of spirituality, and there's but it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful.
Right. Both of it teaches us. So
it's all exactly. We're here to grow. It's called Earth School for a reason. We're here to grow and learn. I
say this all the time. I wouldn't change anything that I've gone through, because then I would change who I am today. And I love who I am today. So I wouldn't change not one bad or good experience in my life. It's like, boom. All right, you guys, until next time. Bye.
Bye.